Here are the biggest gaming news and leaks you probably missed this week. Recent PlayStation updates are changing everything, from the Resume game feature to the interface, and PlayStation Stars makes controversial change to rewards. Phantom Blade Zero Dev says it's not like or copying Black Myth Wukong, and I quote, "We've wanted to make these kinds of games from the beginning." You might get to playtest the new Cyberpunk or Witcher, but only if CD Projekt Red decides your gamer profile is good enough for Geralt. The all-digital PS5 might be the least popular console of all. We're also going to talk about the future of Spier-Man games and how Insomniac could make Peter great again. We also got exciting Helldivers 2 news to cover, and I'm not just talking about the new Warbond. Horizon 3. Traveling overseas for its setting could be a double-edged sword. Monster Hunter Wilds open beta starts next week with crossplay across all platforms, but PS5 players can get in early through PS Plus. It's gonna be a long one, boys, so get your popcorn, get comfortable, smash that like button, and let's get into it. Alright, so basically, in this interview, the CEO and Vice President of S-Game, the studio behind Phantom Blade Zero, are talking about how Chinese developers are really starting to make a name for themselves in the console gaming world. The CEO, Liang Qiwei, explains that a big reason for this recent boom in Chinese-made games is because the market and technology have finally caught up. A few years ago, they didn't have the resources or the right market conditions to make console games, but now that's changed. The VP, Michael Chang, adds that it's not like all these developers suddenly decided to make console games at the same time. They've wanted to do this for a while. It's just that now they have the capability to make the kind of high-quality games they've always dreamed of. They also mention that Chinese gamers have always been into video games. For example, 30–40% of the sales for big Japanese and Western games have come from China, even before games like Black Myth blew up, so there's always been a big interest. But now developers have the skills and tech to start producing these AAA games on their own. Even though China doesn't have much experience with console or single-player PC games, the developers have gained a ton of experience making mobile games, and that's helped them level up. With all of these factors combined, we're seeing more major games coming from Chinese developers, like Phantom Blade Zero and the open-world game Infinity Nikki. The success of Black Myth Wukong is just the start of this trend. Qiwei also talks about how cultural differences can actually be a big advantage for these games. He mentions that even though Black Myth was based on one of China's most famous novels, Journey to the West, which could have been hard for international audiences to understand, people ended up loving it because of its high quality. He compares this to how Chinese players learned about Japanese samurai through Japanese games. They didn't care much about samurai at first, but after playing awesome games about them, it became a popular theme. So, Qiwei thinks that these cultural differences can actually help draw more players in. If a game is fun and well-made, those unfamiliar cultural elements will feel fresh and exciting instead of being a barrier. That's what they're aiming for with Phantom Blade Zero, to make a unique, high-quality game that stands out globally.
Let's kill him with time.
Helldivers 2 is dropping a badass new update called Truth Enforcer's Warbond on October 31st, and it's all about you becoming a Truth Enforcer. Basically, Super Earth's elite squad for dishing out justice and enforcing truth. They're rolling out some seriously cool new gear and weapons that make you look and feel like the ultimate authority. First, you get the PLAS-15 Loyalist, a plasma pistol that lets you go semi-auto or charge up for a more powerful shot. It's called Loyalist. So yeah, it's perfect for showing you're all about that Super Earth loyalty. Then, you've got 2 awesome primary weapons. SG-20 Halt, a shotgun that switches between stun rounds and armor-piercing shots. You can either knock enemies back or shred through their defenses. SMG-32 Reprimand, a heavy SMG with a slap reload, you know, like in those action movies. This one's about rapid fire and looking cool while doing it. But the update isn't just about guns, it's also about looking the part. There are 2 new armors. UF-16. Inspector is a sleek, white armor with red accents for the light armor fans, plus a cape called Proof of Faultless Virtue. It's giving major boss vibes. UF-50 Bloodhound is the bulkier medium armor in a striking red, with the cape Pride of the Whistleblower. Both armors have a passive ability called Unflinching, meaning you won't get staggered as easily when hit. There are also new cosmetic patterns, like the inconspicuous black pattern for your gear, making you look mysterious and official. Plus, you can add the title Free of Thought to show you're all about that order and discipline. And if you're tired of silly emotes, the new At Ease emote gives you that serious, no-nonsense vibe. For a bit of extra adrenaline, there's a new Dead Sprint booster. It lets you keep running even when you're out of stamina, though it'll drain your health if you push it too far. Perfect for those moments when you really need to get away from enemies. So yeah, this update's about turning you into a walking symbol of truth, power, and super Earth domination, and it all drops just in time for Halloween. So here's the scoop. Arrowhead Game Studios just confirmed that Helldivers 2 will be getting a PS5 Pro upgrade. Their community manager, Twinbeard, dropped this news on the Helldivers 2 Discord, saying that the PS5 Pro version will definitely bring some new enhancements, though they're keeping quiet on exactly what those will look like for now. This info came from PSU, and it's awesome to know an upgrade is coming for fans of this online shooter. The crazy thing? The only reason I'm getting called clickbait for bringing you this info is that I'm ahead of everyone when it comes to leaks and predictions. It literally took less than 12 hours for it to be confirmed. More studios are now jumping in to announce their plans for PS5 Pro updates. Remedy Entertainment has already said they'll be making Alan Wake 2 better on PS5 Pro with 2 modes, quality and performance, that use Sony's new upscaling pisser tech. And Naughty Dog just released the PS5 Pro patch for The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, giving players a pro graphics setting that renders at 1440p, upscales to 4K with pisser, and targets 60 bananas per second. In fact, a whole lineup of games is on board with PS5 Pro support. These include big titles like Spider-Man 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Jedi Survivor, and new games coming out like Dragon Age The Veilguard, which I have a weird feeling it will do good despite the drama. Even Endymion, the king of anti-woke, said he is going to play it. Assassin's Creed Shadows. So, the PS5 Pro is looking more worth it by the minute with these enhancements. And here's the deal. If there's ever a new leak about a game being enhanced for the PS5 Pro, you can bet you'll hear it at Daily Hub Ranks first. I'm always ready to bring you the latest and have some fun in the comments while I'm at it. Some people say, don't engage, but I'm like, why not? That's what makes my channel fun and different from all the others. I'm always down there in the comments, getting dirty with y'all, keeping it real and bringing the hype. Sony made a pretty controversial change to how players can redeem their hard-earned points, and fans are not happy about it. So, you know how PlayStation Stars has been a solid way to earn points from buying games or completing challenges, right? One of the best parts of the program has always been redeeming those points for things like store credit, which lets you put that towards more games or DLC. Well, now Sony seems to be messing with that reward system. What's happening is that players are noticing the store credit options have either been reduced or completely removed, depending on where you are. Some users in the US say the options have been limited to just one, where it used to be more flexible. Other people, especially outside the US, are saying they can't even see the store credit option anymore. Imagine being in the UK or Australia, excited to redeem your points for some credit, and suddenly it's just gone. It's really got the community up in arms because the ability to turn those points into store credit was a key part of the PlayStation Stars program. People loved it because it felt like a proper reward for all the effort they put in. And now, with these changes, it feels like that reward system has been watered down. You've got Reddit users in California saying the wallet funds option is completely gone, and they're questioning if it's even worth sticking with the program anymore. One user even said, if this isn't a glitch, then why belong to Stars anyway? And to make things worse, this change comes right after Sony also adjusted how long you can keep your points before they expire. It used to be 24 months, but now it's down to 12 months, meaning you have less time to use your points before they vanish. Plus, they've already cut back on how you can earn points. No more getting them from PlayStation Plus subscriptions. Overall, the timing of all this just feels like Sony is slowly pulling away the things that made PlayStation Stars a fan favorite. If the ability to redeem points for store credit really disappears for good, it's hard to see why people would want to keep using the program. Fans are already voicing their frustration, and unless Sony clarifies what's going on, it looks like the community might end up walking away from PlayStation Stars entirely. So it looks like gaming is definitely heading towards an all-digital future, right? Most people are buying their games online instead of picking up physical copies. But what's interesting is that despite that, players still seem to prefer consoles with disc drives over those without. According to some recent data from Circana, the all-digital version of the PS5 is actually the least popular console this generation. Let me break it down for you. In the US, only 18% of PS5s sold are the digital-only versions. That means out of the 61.7 million PS5s Sony has sold worldwide as of August, only about 11 million of those are all digital. On the Xbox Xbox side, it's a bit more balanced. The Series S, which is Xbox's all-digital model, accounts for about 49% of their total Xbox Series sales so far, which comes to around 13.9 million Series S consoles sold. Now, why are people still leaning toward disc-based consoles, even when most games are bought digitally? There are a couple of reasons for this. First off, the pricing isn't doing the all-digital PS5 any favors. Unlike the Xbox Series S, which is much cheaper at $300 or less, the all-digital PS5 started at $400, and with the new Slim version, it even got a price bump to $450. Another big reason is that many gamers still have a collection of physical games from the PS4 era. Even if most of their new purchases are digital, they still want that option to pop in a disc for older games, or maybe even to watch Blu-ray movies. Plus, some major releases, like God of War Ragnarok, sold better in physical form than digital, which tells us there's still a decent demand for physical copies, especially when it comes to these huge first-party Sony blockbusters. But here's the kicker. Even though physical game sales are shrinking, they're still pretty significant, selling tens of millions of copies every year. So while everything seems to be moving towards digital, there's still a strong enough group of people keeping physical media alive, at least for now. There's also a lot of speculation that we might be heading for a time when all consoles go digital only. Some analysts think Microsoft might make that leap with their next-gen console, but Sony might wait another generation before pulling the plug on physical games entirely. Either way, the all-digital future isn't here yet, but it feels like we're getting closer. Get this, CD Projekt Red, the studio behind The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077, is opening up a playtesting program in the US for their upcoming games. So yeah, there's a real chance to actually test out either the next Witcher or Cyberpunk title before they're released. But here's the catch. They're only picking people based on a specific gamer profile. They haven't spelled out exactly what that means, but I'm guessing they're looking for folks who align with their vibe or maybe have certain preferences or skill levels. Here's how you can jump in. If you're at least 16, live near or can travel to Boston, and aren't in the game dev industry yourself, you're in the clear to apply. All you have to do is log into your CDPR account, fill out a form, and send it off. If they like what they see, they'll hit you up with an invite and all the details a few days ahead of the event. Now, once you're there, it's not just playing the game. They're going to ask you questions about your experience. And here's the wild part. If you're cool with it, they'll even hook you up to special equipment to track your pulse, eye movements, and other physical responses. Basically, they're looking at your raw reactions to stuff that happens in the game, which is actually brilliant, right? It's like they're making sure every big moment and unexpected twist hits you just how they want it to. And as for which games could be in the mix, well, CDPR has a whole lineup that's pretty insane. Besides the next Witcher game that's kicking off a brand new trilogy, there's a separate Witcher game called Sirius that the Molasses Flood is working on, and even a full remake of the first Witcher game. Plus, they're gearing up for a Cyberpunk 2077 sequel, which I'm already hyped for, especially after Phantom Liberty, and on top of all that, they're creating a totally new IP that's supposed to be separate from the Witcher and Cyberpunk worlds. It's kind of surreal. The chance to playtest some of these games before they launch, especially with CDPR's reputation for rich, story-driven world. So yeah, if you're down to fly out to Boston, it's definitely worth signing up. Monster Hunter fans are in for a treat. Capcom has officially announced that the Monster Hunter Wilds open beta is kicking off next week, and it's bringing a lot to the table. Not only will this beta feature cross-play between PS5, Xbox Series, and Steam, but PlayStation 5 players with a PlayStation Plus subscription get exclusive early access starting October 28th. Here's what makes this beta special. One of the standout features of the beta is that it offers the full character creation tool set, which is the same as what you'll get in the final game. You can create your Hunter and Palico now, and the best part? Your creation will carry over to the full game when it launches in February. So, if you're the type of player who spends hours perfecting every detail of your character, this is your chance to do it in advance. The beta also lets players dive into the story with an opening cutscene and a tutorial hunt to get you familiar with the game's mechanics. Whether you're new to the Monster Hunter series or a seasoned veteran, this will help set the stage for the full Monster Hunter Wilds experience. The main event of the beta is a hunt where players will be tasked with taking down Doshiguma, the alpha of the pack. And since the beta supports cross-play, you'll be able to team up with other hunters across platforms, making it easier to find partners to tackle this beast together. While none of your hunt progress will carry over to the full game, Capcom is sweetening the deal with a couple of rewards. Beta participants will earn a cute Palico pendant and a package of useful items to get you started in the full release. If you've been on the fence about Monster Hunter Wilds, this beta gives you a great chance to test the waters and see if the game's world and mechanics are your style. PC players in particular are in for a treat, as this is the first time in the Monster Hunter series history that a trial like this will be available on PC. This beta sounds like an excellent preview of what's to come. So, IGN was chatting with the developers behind Sonic the Hedgehog and Monster Hunter Wilds during the Tokyo Game Show 2024, and they both have thoughts on the power of the PS5 Pro. But when it comes to how that power impacts their games, they had slightly different takes. Ryozo Tsujimoto, the producer of Monster Hunter, is pretty excited about the PS5 Pro. He said the team behind Monster Hunter Wilds was all in on supporting it as soon as they heard about it. Since Monster Hunter is built on the powerful RE engine, which is known for pushing great graphics, the PS5 Pro seemed like a natural fit for them. They're getting some good support from Sony to figure out how to make the most of it, so while it adds more work, they're really hyped about the possibilities. During our hands-on with the PS5 Pro, we saw that developers are using its power in different ways. Some are adding enhanced modes with 4K resolution and higher frame rates, while others, like Horizon, are being more detailed with their upgrades. However, Tsujimoto mentioned they're still in the middle of deciding exactly how Monster Hunter will use that power, so it might not be ready at launch. But they're working on it. On the other hand, Takashi Iizuka from the Sonic team is still more focused on the previous generation of consoles. He really wants as many people as possible to be able to play Sonic games, which means continuing to support the PS4 because it still has a huge fanbase. He also mentioned that while high-end consoles like the PS5 and PS5 Pro are great for showing off Sonic's speed and improving gameplay, they still plan to support lower-end consoles too, like the Nintendo Switch. Even though it's getting a bit old, when the PS5 Pro's $700 price came up, Iizuka admitted it's pricey, but also thinks that with the kind of quality it offers, it's worth it for gamers who want the best experience. In Marvel's Spider-Man 3, one of the greatest challenges will be ensuring that Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and potentially Cindy Moon all share the spotlight without losing the emotional connections that made their stories compelling. As Jared Stewart highlights in his critique of Marvel's Spider-Man 2, the game missed an opportunity to deepen the bond between Peter and Miles, despite the narrative potential that existed. The duo, whose relationship began with Peter mentoring Miles through loss and heroism, has lost some of its emotional spark. Instead, their interactions feel more professional, almost as if they're colleagues, rather than two people united by a shared responsibility and deep friendship. This issue becomes more apparent when comparing how Marvel's Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales handled their relationship. Initially, Peter and Miles had a profound connection, with Peter acting as both mentor and friend. Peter's desire to help Miles cope with the death of his father led to touching moments at Feast, and later, the powerful scene where Miles punches Peter, disguised as Spider-Man, marking the start of their journey as a dynamic duo. However, in Spider-Man Miles Morales, while Peter's absence in Symkaria was a necessary plot device to let Miles grow on his own, it also highlighted how much Peter's direct influence shaped their bond. Fast forward to Spider-Man 2, where the two Spider-Men should have been closer than ever, now operating in the same city, tackling threats together. Unfortunately, this isn't fully realized in the narrative. Yes, they have some epic team-up moments, most notably during the battle with Sandman, and the fluidity of swapping between them in combat is a gameplay highlight. Yet, outside of these action sequences, Peter and Miles feel strangely distant. Their conversations are brief, often transactional, focused on the mission rather than reflecting the deep, emotional connection that was evident in earlier games. They fight alongside each other, but they rarely spend time together when it's not related to saving the city. And this lack of personal interaction makes their friendship feel more mechanical than organic. Spider-Man 2 seemed to push these aspects to the side in favor of bigger action set pieces, and while those moments are undeniably thrilling, the quieter emotional beats were sacrificed. Peter is too preoccupied with Harry and his newfound foundation, while Miles is on his own path trying to find his place. Looking ahead to Marvel's Spider-Man 3, the stakes are high for Insomniac to address these issues. The introduction of Cindy Moon as a potential third playable character could either enrich the dynamic or further strain the delicate balance between Peter and Miles. Cindy, also known as Silk in the comics, brings her own unique spider powers to the table, and there's potential for her to play a major role in the storyline.